The ambush didn't work at first. Every night, the Subbureau sent hundreds of officers into the darkness, an impressive force on paper, but against a sprawling district riddled with hundreds of narrow alleyways and shadowy green belts, it felt like trying to plug a leaking dam with bare hands. Late on the night of December 20th, inside lane 2501 on Longhua Road, another woman was ambushed. Dragged down, choked unconscious twice, her pants slashed open. Just 2 days later, the same savage signature appeared again. This time near the new residential compounds along Demukio Road and Lingling Road. The victims choked into oblivion twice, clothes torn in the same brutal way. The predator was growing bolder, almost taunting them. Impossible to guard against. Around this time, a British documentary crew from River Films had begun shadowing the investigation. The female producer, fluent in Chinese ways and armed with Western experience, delivered her verdict with cool certainty. The case was unsolvable. If Shanghai police cracked it, she said, it would be nothing short of a miracle. Those words lit a fire in Chao Shengwei's chest. He would prove her wrong. Chinese police would crack this case, and they would do it brilliantly. The task force gathered again, poring over every detail. The criminal's recklessness was now obvious. He no longer cared about consequences. That meant the police had to change tactics. The sheer size of the area outside the inner ring road, especially along Longwu Road, could swallow their entire force and still leave gaps wide enough for a wolf to slip through. Pure static ambush wasn't enough anymore. They decided on something bolder. 2 patrol cars, lights flashing, creeping slowly through the night along key stretches of Longwu Road, not to catch him directly, but to drive the wolf toward the waiting traps. From passive defense, they shifted to a combination of holding ground and active pressure. But the wolf played hide-and-seek. On the night of December 29th, Lisa and 4 friends sang karaoke at the Galaxy Hotel until past 1 a.m. When they stepped out, her friend Junming called a taxi to take her back to her temporary home in Dong'an New Village. Lisa was striking, beautiful, talented, only 18 when she left her hometown in the southwest to study at one of Shanghai's most prestigious film schools. She carried a quiet radiance. The long street lay empty under the streetlights. The taxi sped smoothly through the night. At that very moment, the ambush point on Dong'an Road had just reached its shift's end. Officers were packing up. Mist began to rise, soft and ghostly, curling through the alleys and spreading like slow smoke. Junming, a man in his early 30s, asked the driver to pull all the way into the lane for safety. Lisa gently refused. Too much fog, she said. The car would struggle to turn around. She stepped out at 1:30 a.m. Right then, the ambush teams across Fenglin were withdrawing. A young woman and her unseen protectors missed each other by minutes. 10 meters in, Lisa glanced back to make sure the taxi had left. Instead, she caught the flicker of a young man's silhouette slipping into the lane behind her. A thread of unease tightened in her chest. She quickened her pace, 60 meters, 50. Just one more turn and she would be home. Then came the footsteps, light but fast and closing. She turned the corner. A young man with a knife already blocked her path on the left. She spun to run. He closed the distance in a few explosive strides, pinning her against the wall. The knife clattered to the ground. Bare hands now. He seized her throat, forced her down onto the muddy ground beside the flower bed. Another flower crushed in her prime. The weight on Chao Shengwei's shoulders grew heavier still. Rumors and fear spread through the streets like wildfire. Every nightfall, families waited anxiously for wives and daughters to come home safely. The night sky over Suhui district seemed to press down, thick with dread. Chao reflected bitterly. Had they failed in their duty? Hundreds of officers and auxiliary police had endured bitter cold and endless rain for nearly a month, sleepless, soaked, devoted. Was the investigative direction wrong? No, the criminal had never left Suhui. Their profile held true. So where had they gone astray? In another intense meeting, Chao laid out a bold new analysis. In less than 2 months, 8 attacks, 2 murders. The gaps between crimes had shrunk dramatically. 19 days, then 965,286. The pace was accelerating. The man was spiraling into pure savagery. Most attacks happened on weekends or holidays, between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., a pattern police could exploit. The hunting ground remained tightly bounded. Zujiawi, Keohejing, Changqiao, Longhua Town, Fenglin, Xietu Road. a compact few square kilometers. Yet he always struck somewhere new. One place stood out untouched. Tianlin New Village, a densely populated residential C. The odds were high he would appear there soon. The room nodded in agreement. Felt right. They doubled down: more manpower, refined suspect screening, tighter integration between background checks and live patrols. After the New Year's bells of 1997 rang out, the real hardship began. Deep into the 3/9's cold spell, January 3rd and 4th brought pouring rain. Officers crouched in icy downpours, exhausted but unyielding. January 5th, rain stopped. The coldest night of the winter so far. Puddles froze into thin sheets under flashlights. January 6th, Sunday, the first clear night after rain. They sensed he might move. Ambush extended to 2:30 a.m. Chow patrolled the lines, urging everyone, stay sharp. Stay awake. Morning came. No reports. Strange. Had he stopped? Then in the afternoon, 2 failed attacks from the early hours were finally reported. One in Zujiawi, one near Depukyo. Same night, 2 attempts. Unprecedented. He was desperate now, ravenous. Failure would only push him to strike again soon, maybe before the weekend. They braced for Monday through Thursday. January 7th, Monday quiet. January 8th, Tuesday deep into the freezing night. In Tianlin New Village, the watchers never blinked. Just before 11 p.m., he appeared. A detective on patrol in Tianlin 12 Village spotted him in the greenery beside Building 23, straddling a woman attacking. The officer charged without hesitation, but branches slowed him. The man bolted. The detective knew the terrain. He pursued, herding the fugitive toward Building 45, the only exit. A passing couple was asked to call Tianlin Station. Within 5 minutes, Acting Deputy Chief Yang Wei arrived with reinforcements. Minutes later, Chao Shengwei and the full team sealed the building. Trapped, the man scrambled out a 6th-floor corridor window onto the roof, then dragged cement slabs to block the access door. Frontal assault failed. They shifted. While he fixated on the main exit, several officers climbed out from the balcony of 601, scaled the roof, and took him down in a swift, coordinated rush. Interrogation began immediately at Tianlin Station. The suspect claimed his name was Chen Jun, said he'd come to Shanghai recently. His father had a mistress here, drove his mother to suicide. He hated Shanghai women, wanted to kill one. Lies. Chow knew instantly this was their man. The scratches still fresh on his face matched a recent victim's desperate fight. That same night, Lisa was brought in for identification. The moment their eyes met, she broke into sobs. The breakthrough came. His real name was Shijun, staying in a borrowed room in Zujiazi Zinlonghua, exactly where their profile had pointed. A search of his place turned up cash, jewelry, mobile phones, pagers, gold. All the victim's belongings. With help from the Municipal Bureau's interrogation team, the full picture emerged. All 8 cases, including the unsolved November 11th railway robbery murder at Zinlonghua East Station, traced back to one man, Guo Shijun. When the British producer watched the arrest unfold, her skepticism melted into genuine excitement. She had come expecting failure. Instead, she witnessed something extraordinary. Chinese police, through sheer intelligence, grit, and coordination, solved what she had called unsolvable, and solved it masterfully. Her crew captured it all on film. A perfect documentary born from doubt turned to awe. On a bright, breezy day, she hosted a celebratory banquet at Mailongsan on Nanjing Road, raising glasses to the team. From the first moment Chow saw him, Guo struck him as stubborn, solitary, and crude. An uneducated brutality etched into his pale, triangular face and dull, hooded eyes. Born to ordinary farmers in Huayananhui, he dropped out after first year of junior middle school, tired of the fields and his father's beatings. He ran away. Out in the world with no money, he turned to theft. In 1993, he was sentenced to 3.5 years. Released in 1996. He didn't smoke, rarely drank. His only pastime was gambling with friends. Then his girlfriend left him for someone richer. That betrayal twisted something deep inside. He began to hate women, even his own sisters. He swore he would get rich, very rich, and make her regret it. November 3, 1996. He arrived in Shanghai, stayed briefly with his vegetable-selling sister, then fought and left. By November 11th, money almost gone, he wandered the cold railway tracks near his lodgings. Saw a lone woman. Impulse took over. Less than 8 days in Shanghai and he had already killed. After that he couldn't stop. Night after night, he told himself police slept at night. Who would catch him? Each attack brought money and twisted satisfaction. He became numb to the law. On a day in June 1997, a single gunshot ended his 19-year life. A young man from the countryside, in just 2 months in the city, unleashed a string of robberies, rapes, and murders that shook Shanghai to its core, and left behind questions that linger still.